Right, I've had a weigh up about what I'm going to do for this breaker bracket. I've made up a new, needs still a couple of cuts to do on it to shape it a bit. And I've shaped it, it's narrower at one end than it is at the other, because I'm going to weld it on. When you slide it in and bring it up so it's touching the swing arm in the proper place, it actually touches the swing arm, but it's level down in the caliper bracket. So yeah, that's still to shape a bit. Now this stub here, it's going to be getting cut across here, because where this goes in, it sort of comes across that way, and then it'll be getting cut down there, and I'm going to utilise this bracket. I'm going to fully weld around the bracket, and then on this side I'll just put like 3 10mm stitches on, which is more than enough to hold that bracket in place. Now I've had the wheel off again because I've cleaned up the inside, the paint and the chrome. I've took that off. I don't know if I mentioned as well when I was doing all this and I said I'd cleaned it up. Anyone who's watched the videos of this Deuce project will remember that this swing arm was chrome, and I don't like chrome swing arms on softails. I mean, I don't mind them on anything else unless it's a chrome frame, which then that's up to the individual, but I like my swing arms on my softails, I just like them black to match the frame, or if the frame's red or blue, whatever, you know, just have it all matching. So I painted this black. So when I'm cleaning it up for doing weld, I'm not only taking black paint off, I've got to take the chrome off as well, because if you try and weld through the chrome, what you'll do is the chrome plating and the nickel plating underneath, etc., it'll contaminate your weld, which could possibly result in a weak weld. So that's the last thing you want. So it has been ground up and the chrome's been taken off as well as the paint. But anyways, the wheel came out while I did that, and then when I put the wheel back in, to make sure, as you'll all know, when you adjust your wheel, it's going to slide in a straight line up its slot on both sides, obviously. So it just goes in a straight line. So what you need to do is make sure that this bracket is in line with that, so that as the wheel moves and it pulls the bracket with it, the bracket isn't trying to fight like a plate that's on at a stupid angle. So the way I did that, on the bracket itself, there's a ridge on the edge of the slot where it's going to slide onto the bracket itself. And what I did is put the square on, held that in place. Now this piece here on the bottom I've checked this as well, that's exactly 90 degrees to that. So what I did was put the square in and then measured, obviously using the rule, measured each end of that till that was the same. So that basically means that this bracket is now in line with that slot. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to weld it on, obviously. But what I need to do is put this back in, lock it in place using the little locking screw on the bottom of the caliper bracket, and hold it in place. Mark up where I'm going to be cutting that, and mark up where I'm going to modify, as in all I'm going to do is just cut some bits off and shape it a little bit so it looks a little bit tidy when it's on. I mean, I've already rounded this part off, for instance, so that when you're sliding your bracket in, it's not hitting a square edge, it's hitting a nice rounded edge. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll get it all set up, get it all tacked in place, and then obviously I can take all the wheel out then. I'll double check my measurements again before, you know, like across here, because the likelihood is it's not going to pull because of the way I'm going to do it. There's a lot of strength in this one bracket, and I'm putting the main of the weld into that bracket. By the time the heat goes to the tube, there won't be enough heat in it to actually cause the tube to bend. And the 3 little stitches that I'm going to put on the top side shouldn't be enough to pull it. But I'll take measurements, and then if it does pull, obviously I'll straighten it back up again. But it shouldn't pull, it should be alright. Because it is quite thick tubing on these, so you know, you've got to put a fair bit of heat in before it has enough to actually make it move. But yeah, I'll knock it off, get all this lot sorted, and when I'm ready to get all this welded on, I'll bring you back, show you it set up, how it's going to look, and then just get it welded on. And then once that's all welded up and finished and cooled down, I can just tidy the paint up where I've scraped the paint off, etc., and where it's bubbled with a bit of heat. Just tidy it up, and then as I said earlier, I'm just going to paint it with some Smooth Right, just as a temporary paint job. And then once that dries, we can get it fitted back to the bike. But for now, I'll knock you off, and I'll come back again later. Okay. Right, I've got this bit tacked on. Now if you imagine that's how the swing arm will be, the swing arm even, will it be in the bike, that's basically what you'll see from the top. I've cut and shaped this bracket a little bit, but what I'm going to do, there'll be like a stitch there, stitch in the middle, and a stitch at this top side, and all the underside will be fully welded, and that'll be plenty strong enough. Once it's cooled down, I'll sort of tidy that up and round it up a bit on the bottom, just take sharp edges off here sort of thing, and that's pretty much it basically. So I've just got this to weld up, which I shall set myself up and get done now. I'm just using an old, not the old axle off this one, but an old axle, so that I can just use a cardboard box and hold the swing arm in a position that's comfortable to weld, sort of thing. So, right, I'll get the lid on and stuff. We'll make a start. It will definitely help put an earth on it. And on the bottom side, where I've cut the original bracket, I cut halfway through one of the original bolt holes. So I'll just fill that in with weld, and then when I flash it off, you'll not know there's a bit of bolt hole there. Right, so that's the welding done. So I'll let it cool for a while and give it a clean up when it's cool, that is. Like tidy there's a big globule of weld here where I've just dumped it on to fill a bolt hole up. Nothing to do with strength of the weld, it's just so I can grind it off so it looks tidy. But yeah, fully welded round the bottom, incorporating the original bracket, which should help keep it from, you know, moving. And then 3 sort of half-inch-ish stitches across the top, and that's more than enough that bracket needs. So I'll knock you off for now and let it cool down, and then I'll bring you back. Okay? Right, it's cooled down. Obviously don't burn your hand now. And basically what we've done is we've reshaped the square block bracket that was on there, rounded it all off. There's a bit there was half a, like I'd cut through an original bolt hole that was in that other bracket, so I just filled that up with weld. Fully welded it round the bottom, and on the other side basically just three stitches. Let's see that one. So it's stitched at the end, stitched there and stitched there, and then just basically rounded off on all, you know, so there's no sharp edges to catch your chrome stuff on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the wheel back in, so I'll just put you back on this tripod, and we'll get set up, put the wheel back in and make sure it all, I've done my measurements as well, by the way, and it hasn't moved. I was quite confident that it wasn't going to move the way I was doing it, and it hasn't. It hasn't altered any at all. So get the wheel. Spacer in this side first. In the spacer. Now this, keep the wheel straight, just pull that through a touch, there's room, and I should be able to feed this down, hook it onto that bracket. I mean, it'll be a lot easier when the swing arm's actually part of the bike again. Straighten the swing arm up a bit. Come on. Being a pain in the ass now. That's it. And as you can see there, I know it's, in fact I'll tell you what I'll do, is I'll lift her up how she was. Right, so that's the wheel on, and if I lift it, it just, the whole bracket moves and it's free, it's not catching. And I can see if I was to screw the adjuster in, let's put this on this end. I won't tighten it because I want to be able to move it up and down. Yeah, so find my tools. So that's the adjuster screw just nipped up, and I'll bring you in, I'll try and get you a close up of how this looks. As you can see there, it's pretty much sitting nice and straight. There is sort of patterns on this. Oh, keep the camera in the right spot. There's patterns in this that makes it look as if there's a gap, but there isn't. It's sort of nice and straight, and because it runs in line with the axle hole, when you adjust your wheel, it'll just come along nicely. So I'll just put you back on the tripod. Zoom back out a bit. And what we'll do now is we'll just put the caliper back on to make sure that everything's alright. I need another one. So, caliper, can't see now at the minute, I'll just turn this screen. The caliper, which is joyous, the fact that I can just take it on and off. That's it. And just nip this bolt up so it pulls everything in properly. Just ding that so it can sit where it wants to. Snip it back up the top. So there you go. Modified to make it wider, so I could fit the proper bracket, put the performance machine caliper in, spaced the disc out, etc., so I could actually take the caliper off, put a proper bracket in, well, not a proper bracket but a better bracket for holding the brake in place, and I'd say that it's been a success so far. So basically what's left to do now is just take all this wheel back off, tidy up the paint with a bit of sandpaper just to smooth it off where there's, like here for instance, and here where the paint's bubbled with the heat that was in it from the welding. I'll just rub them off so it's smoother, and then I'm just going to, as I've already said, I'm just going to give it a coating of black smooth right, or black hammerite smooth, whatever you want to call it. But so far it's looking good, and it hasn't twisted, which is the main thing. So far I'm pleased. But yeah, so paint swing arm, and I've got that spacer in there to polish up and that, and the shaft spacers there to polish up as well. And once this is painted, I can then get it fitted back to the bike, and hopefully it'll look just as tidy as it did before, but it'll work properly. Right, so for now that's it. I'll knock you off, I'll bring you back in stages and let you know how I'm getting on. So right, that's it for now, catch you later. Right, just a quickie sanded it down, obviously not all the way down to bare metal, but I've just smoothed off the areas where the paint was missing, etc. And all I used was some 220 grit paper, and I've gone over it now with a coat of Smooth-Rite. So it just sort of looks a little bit better now. So basically I'm just going to let that dry, and then we can start getting it fitted back to the bike. So right, that's it for now, catch you next time.